take my insurance? Probably one of the most dreaded questions of any physio practice in all of America and maybe in healthcare, second only to how much does it cost? And I would say, right, it's probably only dreaded in those clinics that don't take insurances and maybe out of network, but should be dreaded in every clinic. I love to start a conversation with the front desk people. What do you want to hear, right? When you pick up the phone and you say ABC Physiotherapy, how can I help you? We know it's a new patient. What are the easiest calls and what are the toughest calls? And the people who typically say the easiest calls are the ones that start with, do you take my insurance? Right? Because we get to say yes or no. And that's all anybody cares about. That's all anybody cares about. And so we get to take care of that. And it's funny because I believe exactly the opposite. And I'll share with you why. And I'll share with you how I finally figured this out, why people lead with, do you take my insurance? And it's not as simple as we think. And this came from my experience of answering the first phone call in my own business. You guys maybe have heard about this journey or not, but right, I just sat down and started answering calls, didn't know what to do. We'd gone out in network, didn't know what to do. We'd burned through 2 front desk salespeople. I knew we had to hire salespeople on the front end, but I didn't know the process. I didn't know the systems. And they all failed, and they didn't fail because they weren't good salespeople. They failed because of me, because I didn't understand the system. I didn't understand the process. I didn't understand what we were selling. So they were going off, kind of what they knew. And it was just like flipping a coin. So I jump in the seat and I start answering the calls. And I'm going to be honest, man, the first 6 months were brutal. Not 6 months. I'll say first 4 to 5 months. The cool thing was I was answering the phone as Jerry, right? San Francisco Sport and Spine Physical Therapy. This is Jerry. How can I help you? I wasn't answering as the owner. I wasn't answering as a physical therapist. I was answering Jerry. How can I help you? And there were a lot of conversations I heard and a lot of things I started to question and that I would push back on a little bit. And as the owner answering the phone, I had the opportunity to do that. And one of them was do you take my insurance? And what I learned after a while, and I'll tell you how I learned this, is when I finally stopped accepting that as an okay start is when I found out why people were asking that question. And I'm going to challenge anybody on here, and I'm going to make a statement that nobody else has ever picked up the phone and says, why do you want to know if we take your insurance? And I did this. I started doing this, and I did it politely. So I'd hear it, right? San Francisco Sport and Spine Physical Therapy. This is Jerry. How may I help you? Yeah. Hi, Jerry. I'm wondering if you take my insurance. So I'd heard it enough. I knew there was something wrong here because I knew this person had found our phone number somewhere, had taken the energy to pick up their phones and dial our phone number, a physical therapy office. And then the first thing they asked was, do you take my insurance? So the presumption is they actually needed something from us. So why are they leading with that? Think about that for a second. They just called your office. So if you answer that question, what did they need from you? What solutions were they looking for? And so finally I started saying, hey, Bill, thank you for calling us here at San Francisco Sport and Spine Physical Therapy. I can definitely answer that question for you, but here's what I'd like to do first, if you don't mind. Can I ask you a question? Sure. Why did you dial a physical therapy office? Because you obviously have a problem that you're hoping we can solve, but you found our number, you dialed us, and then your first question is, do we take your insurance? That's how I found out why people do this. And that's why I'm saying when people call your clinic and say, do you take my insurance? It's probably not what you think. Here's what I learned over time. They don't know what you do. The number one reason they're asking, do you take my insurance, is because they don't know what you do. No, they want to know the cost. You know what I say? The cost for what? And when they would say the cost, I'd say the cost for what? And they'd go physical therapy. And I'd go, my brain, right? Not acceptable. Because until we know what they believe physical therapy is, there's no way we can give them a cost. And this is the mistake your team and most front desk people are making, especially when I do the secret callers. I ask to schedule physical therapy. Nobody ever, I shouldn't say ever. I'm going to say 5 times maybe has moved off of that. Rarely. Here's the problem. When I hang up the phone and I've been scheduled for physical therapy, I have my perception of physical therapy is, you have your perception, but are they aligned? So if I don't know what physical therapy is, then I assume it's all the same, which makes you a commodity, which makes it a price conversation only. So if I play that commodity game with the person asking, do you take my insurance? Then I have told them that we are the same as everybody else. And it took me a while. And remember, friends, I've been doing this for like 18 years. And you'll keep going, but it's a cost thing. And I'm going, but they're paying for what? That's the question. Then what are they paying for? And all you can say is physical therapy. And that's not okay. That precedes another question. So, well, Jerry, I just want to know how much it's going to cost. And I say, cool. If you can tell me what you need from us, what solutions you need from us, what problem you're trying to solve, then I can figure out if we are aligned and a good fit with you. And then we can talk price because you'll know what you're paying for. And by the way, that strategy works. It worked greater than 85% of the time. And it was kind of cool because people had to own the fact with the questions that I don't know what physical therapy is. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, Jerry. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So in order for me to share with you about your cost to do physical therapy with us, and if your insurance covers it or not, and everything is going to be dependent on if we're the right fit for you. Would you agree, Jerry? And sit through the dead air. And I want them to go, well, yeah, because no one's ever asked them that question. And then you proceed with going, cool, Jerry. I will absolutely talk with you about your insurance, your costs, and everything we can do for you based on your insurance and the cost after we determine if we're the right fit for you. So can I learn a little bit more about you, Jerry, and why you're calling us today? 80% of the time? Yeah, absolutely. So this do you take my insurance is actually, it lulls most people into a false sense of security. Oh, all they want to know is if we take their insurance. I'm like, what the fuck are they paying for? Did you ask them? Physical therapy. I'm like, cool. So you guys are the same as everybody else? Just start everybody off with, I want to get scheduled. Great. It'll be, $75 a visit, whatever it is. You don't want to be a commodity. And your front desk, through lack of training, through lack of anybody telling them to do otherwise, is turning you into a commodity. And it ain't their fault. It's your fault. It's the person that hired them, the person that trained them, the person that onboarded them. It's their fault. So here's my challenge to you, right? After you hear this, go back to your front desk and go, when people call, by the way, in network, out of network, cash pay, I don't care. This structure is the same for everybody. And the worst world is the in network world. They manage this the poorest. And man, it is sad how many people just go no and hang up. I'm like, what they want? They want to know if we take our insurance. I'm like, they called us. They called the physical therapy office. Did you find out what they needed from us? No, they didn't want to know. I'm like, because they didn't know what we could offer them. And so it all comes back to that commodity, right? The commoditization of this. So take it back to your front desk. Say, next time someone asks, do you take my insurance? Say, I'd be more than happy to answer that question. If you don't mind, what I'd like to do first is learn more about you and what problem you're having and what solution you need, right? And see if we're a good fit and I have the right expert to get you scheduled with. So would that work for you, Jerry? And then we can talk about insurance. And if they say yes or no, I'm prepared for that answer. I can go either direction. But I'm going to tell you, a boatload of people are going to go, sure. So don't fall into the do you take my insurance trap. Cheers, all.